Welcome to Coffee Talk, the podcast that we introduce people from all around the world, from motorbike world, also riders, but this time we have someone special, someone that is in the shadow, but it's a very important key for all the motorbike industry world. So please welcome Jorge Viegas.
Hello, Kerian. How are you? Very pleased to be here.
Super happy to share this time with you. And first of all, I want to introduce you, as we know, president of the Federation International of Motorcycle. But who are you? Let's introduce yourself, please.
I would need 10 podcasts to tell my story. No, but I started as many kids racing when I was 16.
In which kind of motorbike?
I raced first bike in a Zundap 50. My first year in 75 was a 50cc, and then I bought a Yamaha TD3 that I transformed into TZ, 250 and 350. So I raced also not only in my national championship in Portugal, but I raced in Spain, in France, in Venezuela, until I have understood that I would never be a successful professional pilot. I was national champion, but this didn't mean nothing special. And so at the same time, I was already studying in the university. I was journalist. I was making photos and reports of the races. And then I got married. I had a daughter, and I stopped racing. And then a few years later, I founded the Portuguese Federation, a new one, because the old one was really very bad. I was affiliated in the FIM. I entered the FIM. So after that, I had two lives. One life in motorcycling with president of the Portuguese Federation, member of the board of the FIM, of the UEM at the time was the European Federation. I was president of the circuit of Estoril. I was in the Olympic Committee, Confederation of Sports. And at the same time, I had my career in renewable energy. So I was economist, and I worked for more than 30 years in the renewable energy. And I was also in the association of the renewable in Europe, etc. So I had this is the short version.
I think I need 3 lives for reaching all the things that you reach.
This was the very short version. And then in 2018, I ran for president of the FIM, and here I am. Already 6 years have passed very quickly, and I'm super happy.
That's crazy. All the background behind someone who is arriving to that president.
I was last night in the commemoration of the 50th anniversary of Solomoto. Okay, Jaime Alguersuari invited me, and in more or less at the same time, I did my first race in motorcycles. So I have 50 years of racing as a manager, as a lot of things in motorcycling. And today I'm very proud to know all the riders. I just came from Argentina, from MotoGP. I know them all one by one. Now, tomorrow I'm going to Portimão for the Superbike. So I know them all. So I'm really enjoy a lot what I do.
I think this is a good situation also to ask you, different thing about riders, about events, about where we are going, where you see the future. But first of all, I would like to talk to you, to yourself, to know exactly how you became a rider, like this first moment of your life, like your parents.
This is like, a lot of young people. We had a group, all of us, we had motorcycles. And we rode in the night, pretending we were racing. It was all very dangerous. I hope nobody does that. And then one day I decided because in Estoril they had amateur racing for young.
Always talking about road.
Yeah. No, I did some races in motocross, but it was not my beach. I like the circuit racing. And then I started with two friends of mine. And we had a team, the 3 of us. We did the mechanic. We spent normally all the night before the race, tuning the bikes, fixing the bikes as usual. There at that time, there were no silencers, so the noise was free. And you know, a Yamaha Z makes a hell of a noise without silencing. So
You do
in the
your
middle
own
of the, at 5 in
exhaust.
the morning, I was testing to see if the bike was running.
Yeah.
And I woke up a full village. And then I had to come.
That's the start for like this. Everyone knows me.
And I had to come with pushing the bike, silencing, otherwise they would kill me. So it was a very, very incredible stories at that time, yeah, in the 70s.
And you are the person in front of control all the disciplines,
All the
from
disciplines.
off-road to on-road
We
to
have
trial.
circuit racing is the most mediatic MotoGP. In circuit racing, we have superbike, you have endurance, junior GP, records of speed records. Then you have motocross with supercross, and also supermoto. This is all the disciplines, and now the supercross that we have a new promoter. And then we have enduro with hard enduro, enduro GP, super enduro. Then we have trial with X trial and trial. Then we have the speedway with flat track, long track. It's endless disciplines. And finally we have the rallies with Baja and the rallies. So we have in total, I don't know, more than 30 world champions, because then we have the women, and this is something that I really made as an as an objective in my mandate, is to bring more and more women into motorcycling sport. And in this moment, we have world championships in all disciplines, except in rallies, but they are also like Laia that is racing.
Exactly,
And,
Sandra Gomez.
and Sandra. I was with them in Saudi Arabia this year. And but in all the other disciplines, we have a specific class for women. And in circuit racing, it was my idea, more or less. And I don't like to say this, but I had to push a lot, Dorna, for them to accept a women class. And now they are super happy. And this is being a big success. You've seen the fight between Ana Carrasco and...
Exactly. So now the main goal is try to bring females to different classes in all the racing.
Yeah,
so
we are starting now with the speedway with a female class also. We started with an academy for women. So we make, as we said, a lot of work in the shadow.
Of course.
You know that FIM in total, everybody that works for FIM, some are paid, some are not paid. I was not paid for 30 years, so I know what it is, but the passion is there, the motivation. But in total, it's more than 400 people. People they have no idea what is the FIM.
I think now it's a good moment to say to the people who is watching us, like exactly the function. For sure, you have a lot of functions.
We have three main pillars in the FIM. One is sports. Okay, everybody. I already told you the disciplines, and we have each discipline as a commission. Some commissions have 15 people, others 20, 30. And we have, apart from the commission, circuit racing, motocross, enduro, trial, rally, and speedway, we have the doctors, medical commission. We have the judges. I can talk about this. So it's a bit our referees. We have the technical. This was one of the major investments I did, because FIM didn't exist in technical terms, and now we have 5 top engineers. We have a technical lab in the new head office. I'll talk about that. And we have the Sustainability Commission, the Women Commission, and I think that's all. I'm not... of course, and we have the Mobility and the Tourism. And this to tell you that the 3 main pillars, as I was saying, the most mediatic is the sport, but then we have the tourism, and we have a commission for tourism and leisure. And we have more and more events all over the world where people come all together, and they have a fantastic weekend, and they travel in all the world. We had just one in Egypt, for instance. And then the 3rd pillar is mobility. And mobility, for people to understand, this is our lobbying commission. Lobbying in the good sense of the word, where we try that the legislation, like the permits, like the legislation that affects the industry of the motorcycles, is in our favor. It's not like sometimes the big heads in Brussels, they want to transform the motorcycles into a monster because of safety, but with a wrong approach. So we have an agency in Brussels, we have people in Brussels and in the United Nations. So this is the hidden work of the FIM. But without this, there will be no racing. Because if they finish, because we are implementing the noise control, and a news that I can tell you, we are starting with Moto3 and then Moto2, MotoGP, and lowering the limit of the noise. We already did an incredible work for motocross, enduro, and rallies, and the motocross limitation will start next year. This year already we started with lowering a bit the decibels, because people say motorcycling is noisy, is polluting, is not friendly of the environment, and we cannot. We have to go ahead of these critics, because you know that especially in Netherlands, in Belgium, in France, a lot of motocross circuits were closed because of the noise, because the people build the houses around. The circuit was there before, but they build the houses and they say, we cannot live here, it's too loud. So we have really to do something in our favor to protect our sport. What we love is our sport.
And also, I think it's a way to approach to people, because less noise, maybe we can get to bigger cities, bigger places, bigger events.
So we have also then in the technical, we had, as you know, the homologation helmets program, that the LS2 is one of our first homologated helmets. And in this moment, we are working on the homologation of the airbags, because there is no legislation in the countries concerning the airbags. So we are working with the 4 or 5 manufacturers to create standards, and then for racing, the standards will be higher, as we did for the helmets.
I spoke with a lot of rally riders, and they are super happy with all the development that they are doing. They save a lot, and at last, everyone knows there is a risk. But if you minimize that high level risk,
in the last Dakars, we had no hard casualties. Yeah. Fortunately, for the first time, because before, without the airbag, it was very, very complicated.
So now I would like to know, how is one of your days? Because I think one of your days is not going to be the same. So like every day of your life is completely different, no? Travel around the world, watching different people.
No,
how you remember all the names, everything?
I have more or less a calendar of, let's say, 40 weekends traveling. Apart from the days of the week like today, that I just came for the dinner, and then they said, you have to go to a podcast. But normally I go, for instance, in the 22 MotoGPs, I go to 10. And then I go to some superbikes, some motocross, etc. I have to split. But my day is very simple. I arrive, someone picks me up, go to the hotel. Next day I'm in the race. I have meetings, because in the race I meet a lot of people. I try to talk with the most number of pilots I can. With some I have a very good relation, and I talk every time. I was just this year in Thailand and Argentina, so. And when they are outside Europe, they are much more available to talk, because they have less pressure from the public, from people in the paddock. In Argentina, the paddock was almost empty, so we can.
You can move around, speak with everyone,
and talk with the rider. And I was in the same hotel. I was having breakfast with the Marquez brothers, so because we are all together. And normally I have always meeting with the promoter, in this case with Carmelo Espeleta. We talk almost every day, and that's it. And then sometimes I have some journalists that want to know something, and then I come back home, and then I am in the FIM, where we have a lot of meetings and work.
And talking about riders, for sure you meet a lot of riders in all these years. You will see a lot of people, different people. So I would like to know from your side, like from positive to negative, no? Like which one impressed you more, and which one impressed you more from the other side? I want to know.
It's not easy.
Remember,
I
like
can tell,
6 or 7 years.
I can tell you,
let me know.
talking about MotoGP, it's easier, that everybody knows the riders. There are two French riders, okay? And they are completely the opposite. I have an incredible relation with Fabio Quartararo. We talk about everything. I have a grandson that is his biggest fan and always comes and greet him, and he's so available. Even when he's in the grid, he's always available to talk. In the other side, you have Johan Zarco. It is an incredible pilot, as he showed just last weekend in Argentina. But he's so introverted, he's so concentrated on himself. Of course, I can talk to him, but hello, Johan, everything okay? Yes, everything okay. And that's it. And that not much more than this.
Conversation finished.
And I know him, all these riders, I know them since they were in Moto3, they were kids. Some came from Junior GP, because I was in the podiums with all of them, with Bagnaia since he was a kid, with Marc Marco, all of them. Because I'm an old man, as I used to say. And that's it. It's not that I like more one or the other, but they are all so different, so different. You have Jake Miller, he's an extroverted, always smiling and incredible. And he had a son, and I gave him something for the baby. And you have another one that I have an incredible relationship with, Jake Dixon, and also Joe Roberts. I mean,
you spend a lot of time. You have the chance to know a lot of people.
Normally, when I arrive in the MotoGP, I take a few hours to visit all the boxes and talk with, and also the team directors, of course. I know them all, and we have meetings. I have meetings with all the manufacturers. I will have next Friday, with the manufacturers of Superbike, but they are, in some cases, they are the same as MotoGP. They have a very good relation with Gigi Dall'Igna, with the boss of BMW. Now I'm going to see him in Portimao. So I try to be available and very close to all the stakeholders of the motorcycle racing, because I could be like my predecessors. You watch maybe the races at home in TV. You go once a month, you go to the FIM. Sometimes you go to a race, very rarely, and that's it. And then you cannot influence, you cannot take their concerns and try to improve.
And also I think it's good to have it at the moment, because sometimes riders, as you know, they think on the next race, and on the moment they will say it, but after 2 races they will just
they say
forget.
When they want to complain, they came to me. I was exchanging messages with Jorge Martin, because I was, he is crossing a very bad moment.
For sure.
Miguel Oliveira, that is the Portuguese rider, I was on the phone with him. Now, for instance, Jonathan Rea, that he sent me, I have in my phone, the photos of his foot complete with the surgery that he did. I mean, I have really a very open relation, and this is how it should be.
No, for sure. From my side, as a rider,
also in enduro, I know them.
I love to get that opportunity to say things, to improve, and if you listen, because I think we are part of a group, so you need to listen. Manufacturers, riders,
we are an
everyone.
incredible family. That's why I like what I do, and I have the privilege to visit all the families inside the big family, because I go from MotoGP to enduro to motocross, and it's all completely different people, but the same spirit. And there is one event where they all meet, the world champions, is when we do the FIM Awards. It's incredible to see. I remember Toprak talking with Jorge Martin, and with Russ Brown, the guy from the rallies, and with Jorge Prado. And so they are all being together. It's a fantastic experience. Of course, and then I take a selfie. I have an incredible selfie with all the world champions.
I would like to know, you meet a lot of world champions, and what you see different in a world champion? Someone that wins, for example, Jorge, or someone who wins like 5, 6, 7 world championships. Do you arrive to see something different than the others?
No, you have Marc Marquez, that is now, you know the story, was 2 years suffering, and now he's back. he needs to preserve himself a bit because he has so many people around and trying to talk to him. And I remember Valentino. With Valentino, it was absolutely amazing. Wherever he was, there was a crowd wanting to touch him, to hug him, to see him. And I could have a good, even today, sometimes he comes. We have a good relation, but he's someone who always created a kind of protection around him, which is absolutely normal, because the fame and the charisma of Valentino was something that nobody could approach yet. I think Marc Marquez is going for this kind of charisma. Quartararo could be, when he was world champion, he was creating, but it's quite, we had not so many stars that could be known outside our world, like Agostini. Giacomo is a very big friend of mine, and he is someone that is known outside this world. Maybe a bit Mike Highwood, maybe a bit Barry Sheen, and Rossi.
And these kind of people, you see it when they are young. You see, like, okay, he's going to be a star, or you think he's going to be a thing of going years.
You can smell when you see someone that this guy can. I give the last one I saw with this capability. It doesn't mean that he's
going to be,
but like Pedro Acosta. Pedro Acosta is someone that he can interact with the public in a special manner, like Fabio Quartararo. They are the two most, let's say, charismatic. But then it depends. If your evolution, you go inside yourself and you don't care about the spectators, then you'll never get there. But if you really interact with the spectators and you have charisma, you can be a big star. But of course, and then you need to win races.
For sure. This is there is one side of this, and then if you are not on the top 5...
10, 12, people doesn't
matter.
It's only the winners that matter.
Let's change a little bit the thing. I would like to ask you about a funny anecdote, funny memory. Think about it. I will ask you later. I know for sure you have a lot of memories, adventures, different things, but we want to know one that you never talk about it. So think about it.
No, but I can tell you. I can tell you because it's quite recent, 3 years ago. One day, I called my staff, my closest staff, which is my CEO, the deputy CEO, and I told them, come to my office. And they say, what's the idea now? Because they are a bit scared. And I said, we are going to build a new headquarters. And they say, what? The existing headquarters had only 8 years. It's a cylinder. And I said, no, because we don't have a garage to put the bikes. The heating is lousy. The cooling. And we need a technical lab. And we are already too many. We are squeezed in this setup. So exactly 3 years later, 10 October 24, we were inaugurating the new headquarters of the FIM with all of this. Especially the tech lab is quite important because this is where we do all the technical work. And I remember this day, I'll never forget their faces. And
everyone like, no, this is not true.
This is not. And now, I don't know if you know, but I tell you, the old headquarters is in works, is being transformed into a museum. So 6 December this year, at 11 o'clock, we're going to inaugurate the Racing Motorcycle Museum of the FIM and Canton de Vaud, because I made an agreement with the local authorities. They are helping us with this. And why 6 December at 11? It's very easy. The next FIM Awards will be in Lausanne. And my idea was to bring all the world champions in the morning to inaugurate the museum. And we have a Hall of Fame, so some of them will put the hand.
That's great. So you will have like a piece of history right there with all the motorbikes.
And this is meant to be an open museum to all the motorcyclists and a meeting point. And if they want to watch the MotoGP on a big screen on Sunday, they can come. We will have this open on Sunday with a Paddock Cafe. We have already. This is first time I say the name. The name of the cafe will be Paddock Cafe.
Paddock Cafe.
And so the idea is really to approach the people that like motorcycling and try to bring youth, because we need young people to come to the races, to ride a motorcycle, because sometimes we look at the people and they are...
And you need to work on that bottom, no? And start to bring all that young people to the races.
Absolutely.
For sure, after so many years racing, you saw a lot of things. And I think also it's good to remember toughest decision, or some decision that you said.
I have a lot of good memories.
I
have also bad memories, because
let's do one thing.
No, it's in
politics and bad memories.
In politics, well, no, I don't like to talk about this, but in politics you have some people, sometimes they want just to have in their business card president of this, president of that, and then they do nothing. And sometimes it's difficult when you don't come from a big country. You have to work twice harder to be someone. And I know, because I've been for 30 years in the middle of all these big sharks, these important guys, but in the end, when I see their legacy, I see maybe we can do much better. And so I had some, how do you say, knives in the bag, some, but this will be one day, if I have the mood for that, I'll write something about all those stories.
That's great. But I think you have, the good thing as we talk, it's to be there, to be on first line. If you're in first line talking to promoters, manufacturers, riders, there is no bad decision, because at last you're giving all the effort or all your time, all your love to something.
We work in this moment with 15 different promoters. And I have to manage this relationship almost now, daily. Now we are having a problem now in this moment with the hard enduro, that the existing promoter had no more financing because of the problems with KTM, as you know. And so now we are in the middle of a tender to find a new promoter. And I thought, hard enduro nobody wants, because it's not such a mediatic discipline. I had six companies wanting to be promoters. So we are in the middle of a decision. And all the time I had a problem with the sidecar cross. Now we solved it. And we will have maybe problems with the promoter of endurance. So it's always things that comes to me. But that's why I'm here. Yeah. Otherwise, if we had no problems, they would not need me.
And talking about hard enduro, right now we are seeing some electric bikes going in. So what's the situation on the electric market?
I've been very, very pressed. I don't call Stark, I call Shark, sorry. Because the boss of Stark, he is like Elon Musk. He's a very strong guy, very mediatic, and he really wants to put his bikes together with atmospheric engine bikes. Not in a special class for electric, he wants to
race against.
So we had a lot of fights, a lot of talks, and finally, we have a principle in the FIM approved by the board that is, we want electric bikes to race. So we accept, but we need to create regulations for two reasons. One is to balance the bikes with the normal bikes, is the so-called BOP, the balance of performance, which we did last year with a lot of tests in real motocross circuits with different bikes, normal bikes against the electric, not only Stark, but also we used the Honda, I think, until we got a kind of a balance, which was proved after in Super Enduro that really the bikes were similar. And why this is so important? Because I don't know if you know, with an electric bike, with a mobile phone, you can change the performance. And you can put 80 horsepower. Yeah. So we needed to control and to be sure that we could know if something was going on in what concerns the performance.
For example, the idea also is do this in other classes, like maybe we see a MotoGP racing with the e-bike, or like with the Moto E.
We have the Moto E class, as you know, with the Ducatis, now are Ducatis, but they are performing less than the Moto 3. because they are very heavy. The problem with the electric bikes, and I worked quite a lot in my professional life in renewable energy, etc. The problem with the electric bikes are two problems: autonomy and weight. And a Ducati Moto E is 240 kilos, 250 kilos. And even the Energica before, when they crashed, they could not lift it. It was impossible because it had around 300 kilos. So the batteries is fine for the small scooters, only in the urban circuit, and there are millions. In China, they produce millions. And in the major part of the cities in China, you can only ride electric bikes. For cars, it's perfect. For trucks, for trains, the electricity is okay because you don't have the problem of the weight, and then you can have big batteries. In motorcycling, I believe much more in what I call the eco-fuels than in electric bikes, because you will have always the problem of the autonomy and weight. And we like to be light, we like to ride fast, and if you ride fast, the battery. So in Moto E, we have races, incredible races, but with 6 laps, and that's it. And we have very good riders, very good races, as I was saying, but very short. The second problem, just to finish the question of the electric bikes in competition, is the safety. Because you know, when a lithium battery starts burning, you cannot extinguish the fire. And imagine in a closed place, the smoke, in the Super Enduro,
and the Super Enduro,
and
Supercross.
in Supercross, and we were very much afraid of panic in the spectators. So until we had all the protocol of safety ready, I didn't allow the Stark to join. Now we have special firemen with we have how do you call it? A car, not a car. I don't know how to say in English.
Yeah, like a special machine for
to put the bike and to pull it out of the
truck,
pavilion,
of the building.
with special things, all in steel. So we had to build that. It's not easy, but now the things are going. We had last weekend, for the first time, one Stark in the Baja in Portugal.
I saw it.
You saw it. It's my friend Pedro. He asked, I want to try. So he did, Pedro Bianchi. And he did every 60 kilometers, he changed battery. Of course, this is a competition, a very special competition. But in the veterans, he would be first. He told me. He called me, no, thank you for allowing me to race. And you know, he was not scoring any points, just an experimental class. But if he was with the veterans, he would have won. So that's very.
Another question that I would like to know, it's right now the situation, for example, in MotoGP, that is the class that normally people see, the most known one. So the situation we have one brand far away from the others. So when you have something like this, you work on say, okay, because at last, as me, as a spectator, I want to see like a real fight, different brands
Ducati
fighting.
trophy in this moment.
So in that kind of situation, what the FIM do?
We have a mechanism. The problem in MotoGP is that we must have stability of technical regulation until 2027. So we still have this year, next year. We cannot make big changes. We'll change in 27. In Superbike is different because in Superbike we have some key points where if we have an algorithm that calculates if one bike is much faster than the others, we compensate with less rotations of the engine or a bit of weight more, and we have this, and we did this like with BMW.
Teams.
In MotoGP is different. We need the stability, and we have the so-called concessions that makes that you can have, when you don't score points, to be very, very simple, you can have more engines, you can practice more to test the bikes, but we don't impose technical regulations to, for example, to Ducati because it's going faster. I mean, in MotoGP, it's really very difficult because you see 20 bikes in the same seconds. So the difference are really very, very small, or is the rider who makes the difference, fortunately. But I believe now we have less 2 Ducatis and 2 more Yamas this year. I believe Aprilia and also the Japanese, they are really going much better, much better. KTM is not that fast, but they have very good riders, as you know. So I believe that this domination will not last very
until
long.
the final of the year.
I don't
it's
think.
going
I
to
think there will be some riders that will approach the Ducatis, even if in this moment is a concern. I agree with you, because people say this is
we know how
a
it's going to
Ducati
finish
trophy
the race.
and blah, blah. And from the 6 Ducatis, they are in the first 10 all the time. It's not easy, but you cannot also tell the genius engineers you are wrong, because you got the good solutions, and talk with Gigi Dalling and tell him, no, you cannot do so
right,
faster
do
bikes.
this.
No, you cannot.
So thank you for your time. I want to say you something. I want to ask you something. Here, normally in every podcast, we ask the same question to everyone, because we are having people from everywhere, riders, different styles, different people on the business. So I would like to know your advice. Imagine you find young kid who wants to be like you. If you need to give him an advice to arrive exactly where you are right now, what will be your advice?
Follow your passion. This is what I always tell. Because you can be very good, you can study, you can work, but if you don't have passion for what you do, you'll never be more than a medium person. I told that last night because of Solo Moto. I think they achieved to be there 50 years after, because
in a very difficult situation.
In a very difficult for the press, I know very well. I was journalist for 12 years, so, and I think what gives you the success is follow your passion. Okay.
That's a great answer. I think this is one of that kind of people that is super interesting to listen, because you live a lot, you saw a lot of different things, meet a lot of people, just right around the world, and I think it's something important. Because if you see it also from my side, I didn't know you, but I see all the time you spend, all the love you put on racing, manufacturers, on improve, and this surprises us a lot. Because I think it's the best way to just improve that part of motorcycling.
Exactly. And congratulations for your podcast. It's really interesting.
We try to make people see, to make that image that no one, because maybe they see you on a photo, but I think it's super interesting.
People sometimes tell, you are always there just to give the trophies, and that's, you said, that's the easiest part of my job. That is nothing. That is, I like, because I want FIM to be known, and through me, FIM has to be known, and like in these occasions, we have the opportunity to tell what we do. But we do a lot of things that people doesn't know.
I hope people see this podcast, understand all the work behind. I think we are not even capable to think about it. But really, I feel so thankful to be here, to listen these words, to share some time. And thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.